Hi, how's everybody today? Welcome to the galley. In the galley today, somebody just, as soon as I started recording, put a wake through, so it's a little, if I'm swaying, I'm not sure the boat is swaying. But anyway, I have these three pears, and they are at that point where something needs to be done with them, or they need to be eaten. Well, I'm getting ready to go out of town, and I thought the perfect thing to do is make pickled pears with these, and then by the time I get home, it will be perfect. Now, pickled pears, like pickled peaches, are obviously great where you can make a crisp with them. You can put them on your cottage cheese or your yogurt, or you can just eat them right out of the jar. They're fantastic. Just like you would eat any kind of canned pear. But we are going to just do a small batch. I just have these three, so I'm just going to do like half a batch of my brine and get these in a jar. And I'm just going to refrigerate these. We're just going to do like a quick refrigerated pickled pear. If you want to can them, you can absolutely can them. All you have to do is a water bath canning and process them for about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on the size of your jar. But I'm not going through all that today. Today, we're going to get these in a jar and in the refrigerator, and they'll be perfect when I get back home. The first thing I want to do is I want to get this brine going. And the reason I'm using this big pot is I want these pears to be able to float around in this brine for a little while, and I want them all to have their own space. So that's why I'm using this big pot for this, just three pears. And the first thing you want to do is get your brine going, and because we want this to come up to a boil and let all of those flavors start to marry together. And I'm going to add a quarter cup of vinegar to that, and you can use any kind of vinegar you want. I'm using a nice apple cider vinegar. You could do a sherry vinegar, you could do a red wine vinegar. So any kind of vinegar you would like to do, you can. If you're planning on canning them, just make sure your vinegar is 5% acidity. Acidity. And then a half a cup of sugar. And I like that golden sugar for when I'm doing canning and things like this. Um, it's just a little less processed, and the color is not exactly 100% white because it still holds on to a little bit of that molasses. So we're going to do 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'm going to drop 1 clove in there. They say that, if you hold your clove out here and you can smell it, it's a really nice fresh clove. And if you gotta pull it in to smell it, it's not the freshest of, I think I said clove, cinnamon. Sorry. So if you have to hold your cinnamon stick, if you can hold your cinnamon stick out here and smell it, it's a nice fresh one. And I have to tell you, I was downstairs um, getting my cinnamon sticks out, and I think it's time for new ones because I really have to bring this up to my nose to smell it. In fact, I could probably put 2 sticks in here, but we're just going to go with 1. And I've got a whole nutmeg, and I'm going to throw that in there. If you don't have the whole nutmeg, just sprinkle a little nutmeg in there, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. I've got a star anise. This is not important. I know a lot of people don't have the star anise in their spice blends, and I've got about 3 to 4 whole cloves, and in we go. I'm going to bring this to a boil and let it simmer until I have my pears done to go into it. Now, if you didn't want to use the sugar here, you could go with honey, or you could do maple syrup. And I always get this question. A lot of people ask me if they could use a monk fruit, and I would say absolutely, because you just need to sweeten this up a bit. So yes, I think you could use the monk fruit. I personally have never used it, but this isn't a case where we're worried about something thickening up like a syrup. It might not get as thick if you use the monk fruit, but I think in this case it's still going to taste fine. So we're going to set that to come to a boil, and then we'll get our pears ready. And then I'm just going to peel these. These pears are ready to have something done with them. And I kind of like, if I'm just eating a pear to eat a pear, I like it to be kind of crunchy. Once they start getting soft, it's just not as pleasant for me. And I think I'm like that with bananas too. I like my bananas to be kind of firm. So I'm just going to peel these and then slice them. Winds are kicking up. It's getting a little bit windy out there, so if you hear noise, it's Billy upstairs working. He's still up there working on our solar. So I'm just going to cut those seeds out. If there's any little blemishes, cut those out. And now here I can hear this starting to boil. Here you can maybe just cut this in half and make a fat kind of quarter, or you can cut them even smaller. I'm going to go with the half and make it that size, but if you wanted smaller, you could. You could actually just cut this in half, scoop out the seeds, and do it in half. A lot of people do pickled peaches, and they do just the half. But I always find that whenever I'm doing or using peaches or pears that are canned or pickled, I would prefer them to be sliced. If I do them whole, then I have to slice them. So I just go ahead and slice them. Now this is at a boil. I'm just going to turn that down. I'm going to let that simmer till I'm ready for it. So my pears are ready. I've got this back up to a boil, which didn't take that long, obviously, because it was simmering. I'm going to drop my pears in it. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off and just let this sit. And in the meantime, I'm going to get my jar ready. I think I can fit these all in a pint. I'm going to start putting our pears in the jar. Now, I want you to leave me a comment and tell me, do you like canned fruit? Do you buy canned fruit? Because if you do, this is so easy to do, to make your own. And you don't have to be a canner. You can absolutely just make a batch in the refrigerator. They're going to last a couple of months. Now, you can do just a light sugary water syrup, if you will. You can do 1 cup of water to a half a cup of sugar, or even you can drop down to a 1/4 cup of sugar if you don't want that much sugar. But most all of the canned fruit, and especially those little packaged ones, which they package for kids, are all high fructose corn syrup. And I'm here to tell you, this time of year, you can go to a pear farm or an apple farm and pick your own. But you can definitely find peaches and pears that are grown here in the United States, and in 20 minutes, have your own canned peaches, pears, whatever you like. I'm going to stick this cinnamon stick in there, make sure he gets in there. I think that whole thing of nutmeg I'm going to leave out, because I think he might get a little strong over time. Now, we're going to let these come to room temperature, and then we're going to store them in the refrigerator. Now, I have my little thing that does them airtight. You can just put any kind of lid on them, store them in your refrigerator. Again, they'll last for about 2 months, 2 to 3 months, and you can add these to a charcuterie board. You can chop these up and make a salsa for tacos or barbecue or pork or anything. I'm going to get a knife and go down the edge, and if you go down the edge, it helps release air bubbles, and then you'll be able to get a little more of that juice in. Super easy to make. And if you got some pears like I did that are ready, these were ready for something to happen to their lives. Now, because I'm going to put mine in the refrigerator, and it's great if you can let them sit for 3 to 5 days before you start eating them. So I'm going to let these cool, and I'm going to put mine in the refrigerator. If you are canning them, then you know how to can. I'm guessing you're going to clean the rim, leave a 1/2 inch headspace, and process for pint size 20 minutes. And then they're set on their shelf for a very long time. But this is so beautiful, and I can guarantee you this jar of spiced pickled pears costs way less than a can of pears in the grocery store. I hope that you find this encouraging. And if you have any questions, again, put a comment down, but do put a comment. Let me know what you think about pickled pears. And thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Until next time, safe cruising. I almost forgot. I'm back. Hello, I'm back. I almost forgot. So, this is what I'm going to do. I forgot to tell you. I don't know how well that's going to work. I'm going to strain off this juice that we have left. And can I just tell you that this and some bourbon, fantastic cocktail. It's a great fall bourbon cocktail. So I'm not going to let any of this go to waste. I'm going to save the brine for cocktails. You can even add it to maybe a little champagne. I think that would be delicious as well. But I think I'm going to do mine a little bourbon on the rocks. We'll see you later.